Hello and welcome back, my friends. Another exciting day in Empires and Puzzles brings us a brand new portal, and what do we get this time around? It is the Ninja Tower back again. Or maybe it's the Ronin Tower now. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily 100% committed to this ninja idea, but either way, it's these fighty dudes. It's their tower. So, we got ourselves a brand new Ronin, and what is this guy going to be all about? Oh, man, I should have practiced pronouncing this name for... Okay. Kaj... Kageyama Nagato? We'll go with that. Kageyama Nagato. Okay, so we've got ourselves a green rogue, which is fun. You get that extra chance to dodge. Can't really complain about that. A reminder of what we get for our family bonus. It is a bonus for 1, 2, or 3 heroes, and this character has a 30, 50, and 70% chance to bypass defensive buffs with their attacks. If any defensive buffs are bypassed, this character's mana is increased by 5%. Okay, look, that's not bad. We all like bypassing defensive buffs. It's kind of like their all ranger class with that additional bonus. You're right. So anyway, whatever. That's cool. All right. In our passes department, we get prevent boosted healing. Enemies' health cannot increase above their max health. Okay. So, interesting thing to note about this. This prevent boosted healing does not prevent all forms of boosted healing. What it prevents is your boosted healing from going above 100%. So if a character is capped out at max health, they can start piling additional health on top of that, okay? But this does not mean that if a boosted health healer heals a team that's at 50%, it's not going to do any healing. That's not how this functions. This says their health cannot rise above their max health total. Okay. So then we also have dishonorable defeat. When this character is defeated by a special skill, they perform the following action. The attacker receives 400% damage. The attacker receives 1200 bleed damage over 3 turns. This is a very interesting effect. I like this sort of death rattle effect that they have going on as a way that these guys can kind of take their killer out with them. They can kind of just have that vengeance strike, if you will. So I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting idea. So we'll see how it plays out in actual gameplay. Now, over here in the 8th power department, we have attack up. This hero gets that plus 20% attack for the first 6 turns, which is fun. But with these Ronin and their triple tier stacking ability, it may or may not be useful, and we'll get into why. Okay, down here in the specials department, we get Shuriken Storm. And this is, of course, operating at mana speed charge, which basically just means there are several tiers to this, and you charge it up as you go. So, the first one says, at first mana charge, and this does operate at very fast speed. It says, deals 500% damage to the target, steals a random dispellable buff from the caster. At the end of each turn, the caster throws a piercing shuriken to a random enemy for 2 turns. Each one does 300% damage. Okay, so at the first tier, you've got yourself a very reasonable 500% sniper operating at very fast, which also steals 1 random dispellable buff, and then will follow up with additional damage for the next 2 turns. Not a ton, but I mean, for operating it very fast, I don't think that's a terrible setup. Now, second mana charge says it's going to deal 575% damage to the target and steal 2 random dispellable buffs. Then, at the end of each turn, the caster and nearby allies throw the piercing shuriken at the enemies for 3 turns. Each one does 300% damage. Okay, so this is pretty much the same special, except you're stealing an additional buff, and now you have 3 people firing random shurikens. This increases your potential damage quite a bit. Your first tier is going to put out 300% of random damage to 1 target. Your second tier, assuming all your guys are alive, is going to put out 900% damage to random enemies at the end of each turn. Now you're starting to see a much better return on damage from this random effect that makes it more interesting. So I'm assuming the final tier is going to step this up, and we'll see where we got. Mana charge times 3 deals 650% damage to the target, so still only an initial sniper hit. Steals all dispellable buffs from the target and gives them to the caster, so all buffs this time. And then at the end of each turn, all allies throw the piercing shuriken to a random enemy for 5 turns. Piercing shuriken deals 300% random damage. Okay, so if you do get to the 3rd tier on this guy, he's going to put out some crazy buffs, right? So, like, all of your team throwing these shurikens is 1,500 potential random damage if they're all still alive throwing these shurikens. Now, to get to the third tier on here. And to have all your heroes still alive is not always the easiest thing to do, but I can definitely see this being a worthwhile addition to like a tanky team that's just sort of hard to kill over time but doesn't have a lot of damage. Well, this type of hero is going to give them all additional damage, which is very interesting. And honestly, this doesn't function too dissimilar from Salome, who is a healer who does something similar with her beams that she does, right? The Astral Demon. So at the end of each turn, all heroes are going to do a 250% hit to a random enemy and reduce their max health. I do think that effect on Salome is significantly better because of the max health reduction. Also casts significantly faster when you think about the fact that this guy needs to get to the third tier to do it. I'm not saying that that doesn't make this a valuable effect. I'm simply pointing out that in comparison, apples to apples, Salome has the better deal there. But this is still a very strong effect. And furthermore, if you stack Salome and this guy, they could both be triggering at the end of turns. That would be very interesting as well. I don't know. It's cool. It's fun. There's a lot of interesting effects to this guy. So let's go into the pros. Let's go into the cons. What are we excited about? What are we not so impressed with? Well, first of all, the passives package is fun with that like death rattle effect that tries to take out his killer if he is killed. The stopping the boosted health healing is helpful at times. It's certainly not anything I would be mad about adding to my attack teams for sure. So that's, I guess, interesting. He does function very well as a very fast sniper. So if nothing else, you can look at this guy as being the finisher for characters that got hit with a special and you need to just kind of finish off that last 20% of their health. Well, he's going to be able to pop up and do that for you quite often, operating at very fast. Now, you do miss out on some of the additional caveats of going for the deeper abilities, and if you don't need that kill shot, you could always just keep stacking this guy's special and eventually get to the final tier where he will be buffing your entire team for them to cast the random damage. Now, I do think that that's interesting. I don't like that this guy's special stays a sniper hit the entire time. So it's like minor sniper hit, reasonable sniper hit, really good sniper hit, right? Like all that's whatever, but it's still only one target. Where this comes into effect or where this gets funky is that in reality, if they have a dispel on deck or a buff steals or whatever the case may be, and they take this guy's team buff where they're doing the random damage at the end of each turn, like that is going to be problematic. If this guy doesn't have the other part of his special that helps your team do the random damage that gets dispelled or taken or whatever the case may be, you lose a lot. This guy's random potential, and I think that's problematic. So where do I rate this guy on a scale of 1 to 10 with all the other new heroes that come out? I would give him a solid 8. I like Ninja's versatility for attack teams. I don't like them for defense. Anytime you have a multi-tiered system, you just don't know what the computer AI is going to do. Maybe they'll use your sniper hit when they need to, or maybe they'll decide they're going to charge up to 3 charges regardless of being able to get a kill shot in and end up dying before the third charge ever goes off. So I would relegate these ninjas, or these Ronin, sorry, to very specifically attack teams. And I think there's a fair amount of versatility out of this guy, which is why he gets a solid 8. I think, again, since his effects can be dispelled and etc., he won't make it to a 9. He just has too many vulnerabilities. But he is definitely a very versatile attacker, which can help you get some kill shots in. So I appreciate that. We'll give him a solid 8 and go from there. Okay, everyone, I thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.